Hi, my name is Douglas and I work at the library. I'm going to show you how to draw some three-dimensional shapes. Paper is flat, but we can draw things on it so that they look like they're 3D and moving out into space. You can use any paper, but I'm using lined paper because I think it helps to keep your shapes lined up. You can also use a ruler if you like, or a pencil so that you can erase your lines. I'm using a pen and drawing freehand, which means without a ruler or other kind of drawing guide. We're going to start by making a cube, which is a six-sided object where all the sides are squares, like this dice here. It's got six sides and all the sides are squares. So to make a cube, we need to start with a square. But first, let's talk about what a square is. A square is a shape where all four sides are the same length and the opposite sides are parallel, meaning the space between them is always the same. Like train tracks, these sides will never meet, so that's what makes it a square. So we're going to start our square by making our first side. It will be vertical or upright and be the length of 2 rows of paper, like that. So once you have this line drawn, then you can complete your square by making the other sides the same length as the first. It doesn't have to be perfect. So there we go, it's a square. It follows the lines of the paper and is as tall as 2 rows on the paper. So if this square is going to be the front of our cube, now we are going to make the back. And to make the back, we just draw another square that's exactly the same as the first, but we're going to move up 1 row. We're going to make our, so like imagine this corner goes up to here to the next row up, and then over a little bit, like somewhere around the middle. Not like perfectly in the middle, doesn't have to be perfect, but let's make it over here. So now we have the front and back of our cube. It just looks like two squares right now. Now all you have to do to make it look like a cube is connect up the corners in a straight line like that. All of these lines will be parallel with each other as well. So there we go, we have a cube. It looks like it's made of glass because we can see the front, back, sides, and all the lines. Later on, we're gonna draw one that looks solid, but first let's try and draw some other 3D shapes, starting with this cube as our starting point. So to make the cube, we drew the second square 1 row up and over a little bit. But what if we moved 2 or 3 rows up? So I'm going to draw another square. And instead of starting the corner here like I did with the other one, let's go up 1, 2, 3 rows and way over here and make that our next square. Then we connect up our corners again. And now our cube is more like a block or a brick. So that's what happens when you make the second square further back. It gets longer. Because things that are closer to us look bigger and things that are farther away look smaller, you can use that to create the illusion of distance. In art, we call that perspective. We can do that with our drawing too by changing the size of our back square. So let's draw just like that brick or block, but we're going to make our next one really small, like only the size of 1 row, like this. So it fits inside 1 row, and the top and bottom are the lines of the paper. Connect up our corners again. And now it looks like it's disappearing off into the distance. We use these squares to make a cube or a block, but we can do this with circles too to make a cylinder. So here's one circle, and just like this one, we went up 1 and then over a bit. We go up 1, over a bit for another circle. Connect up the edges of the circle that don't cross into the circle. And now it looks like a cylinder, just like we did with the turning the cube into this block or brick. We can do the same thing with the cylinder. We can change the shape of the circle too. If we make the circle only as big as the row, and then again, connect up the edges that don't cross into the circle, that looks like a rod. We can put this inside this, put circles inside circles, connect them up, and now it looks kind of like a tube. So let's draw the cube again, but this time we're going to make it look solid. So I'm going to draw my square here. There are different ways of doing this, like you could do it with paper and then erase all the inside lines, but I'm going to show you a little trick. You see how on this one we drew our front square, then our back square, and then made these connecting lines that are all parallel. They will never cross. You do the same thing here with this one. Before you even draw the back square, take the corner, take it on an angle over to the next line up. Now connect these, and our cube looks solid. And finally, I'm going to show you how to make it look like this cube here is casting a shadow. This is a bit tricky. This is probably the trickiest one. Let's see, let's start here. Start from this corner and carry this line out, but this time we're going to draw it really faint, really light, up to the next row and then maybe halfway. So just follow this line, but I went and drew it very lightly. Now, make another line that's like parallel to this, parallel to these, straight over. And then we're just going to shade this in. And now it looks like our cube is casting a shadow. If the light was coming this way, this would be very bright. And maybe we can make this here a little darker too. So now it really looks like our cube is casting a shadow. Those are a bunch of different ways to create 3D objects on paper.